Hey everyone, Ryllan here from Best Plumbing and Lighting, and today I'm going to give you a quick introduction to light bulbs. Now, while there are literally dozens, if not hundreds of types of light bulbs, we'll be focusing only on the ones that you're most likely to find in your home. So, when it comes to bulbs, there are four main things that you need to know about: the base, the shape, the color, and the intensity. Take this bulb for instance. This is an A19 E26 800 lumen 3000K bulb. So what that tells you is the shape, the base, the intensity, and the color temperature. So let's start with shapes. The shape of the bulb will always begin with a letter that specifies the shape and a number that tells you the size of that shape. So, for instance, with this guy here, this is an A-shaped bulb that's 19/8 of an inch wide. So this would be called an A19. The shape of the bulb is usually measured in imperial, while the base is measured in metric. Now, for bases, pretty much every base has a colloquial name. For instance, this would usually be called a medium or a regular base light bulb, but technically speaking, it's an E26. So that means it's an Edison-based screw bulb that's 26 millimeters wide. Whereas this one here is also an E base, but this is an E12. So it's an Edison screw base that's 12 millimeters wide. Now, let's get to one of the main topics, which is intensity. So, back in the old days, you measured how bright a bulb was by how many watts it used. Now, this all went out the window when halogens and fluorescents came around, and even more so now that LEDs are becoming ubiquitous. They are all so much more efficient than the traditional incandescents that the amount of watts consumed by a bulb doesn't really tell you how bright it is anymore. So, how do we compare the brightness of light sources when watts are off the table? That's with lumens. Your traditional 60-watt incandescent puts out about 800 lumens. Halogen bulbs can create 800 lumens with about 39 watts, fluorescents with anything from 15 to 28, and LEDs only take about 7. So, when you're comparing light sources, keep in mind that 800 lumens is your standard for an average bulb. Lastly, and the most complicated topic of all, is the color of light sources. Now, I'm not talking about the RGB color-changing lights. I'm talking about the correlated color temperature, or CCT rating, for lights. So here I am under a 2700K light. And here I am under a 5000K light. So, the lower the rating, the warmer the light source. The higher, the cooler. Now, there's a common misconception that a higher color temperature makes a light brighter. It doesn't, aside from maybe 25 to 50 lumens in difference, which is negligible when it comes to lights. So the one thing that CCT does affect is the distinction between colors. A higher CCT rating will typically make colors much more distinct from one another, hence why it's common to find higher color temperatures in commercial and medical settings. It's great for precise and visually demanding tasks, but often unpleasant in a residential setting. Both the lumen rating and the color temperature can be found on the lighting facts label on the side of the box for any light source. So, now that you know all about light bulbs, let's cover the most common types that you're going to find in your house. This one here is a PAR 20. So that's PAR shape, E26 base, and 20/8 of an inch wide. Now you're usually going to find this in track lights, maybe in the kitchen, or probably in the recessed lighting in your ceiling. This one here is an ST19, so that's more of that vintage shape, 19/8 of an inch wide, E26 base. And then the color and the intensity are changeable. This one here that we already talked about, the candelabra base, E12s, and this is usually called a B or a C shape, depending on who makes it. But you'll find lots of these for decorative chandeliers, for bathroom vanities, and for some other lights here and there. This one here is a G25, so that's a G or globe shaped shape. That's 25/8 of an inch wide, E26 base. Color and intensity are selectable. This one that you'll find probably in track lighting in your kitchen and probably nowhere else is a GU10 base. So this one is a twist and lock. It goes in and then locks in place. It's an MR16 face, which is a multifaceted reflector, and it's 16/8 of an inch wide. This one here is also an MR16, which is the lost bulb. Is a multifaceted reflector that's 16/8 of an inch wide, but this one has a bipin base. Now this is the old style that the halogens used to be. This one here is a GY 6.35. So if you have anything that has these pins on the bottom, be careful because there's 4 different types of those. There's G4s, GY 6.35s, G8s, and G9s. Speaking of G9s, this is a G9. 2 pins, 9 millimeters apart from each other. This one, you'll probably find bathroom vanities, chandeliers that have a lot of light bulbs, something like that. And lastly, the one that you may have if you still have some halogen wall bracket fixtures in your house, although it's pretty unlikely at this point, is a R7S bulb, or that is the name for the base. What this is called is a J118, and that's a J-type bulb with 118 millimeters. There's also a J78, but the base on this is R7S, and you'll pretty much find this in no light fixtures nowadays. Anyway, that's the intro to bulbs. I've been Ryllan. This is Best Plumbing and Lighting. Thanks for listening. Scene. And I never used camera 2.
Camera 2, lucky.
It's someone out the window. Scrolling. And here I am under a 5,000K light.
Actually, the same thing. Wait, what? That's how you did it? We're all moms.
Is that still filming?
I hope so.
Camera 1? Camera 2? Are we on both? Can you still hear me? Yes?
I hope so. I'm
I
not
assume so.